All right, good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. We are just going to give everyone a minute or two to get settled here and let a few more folks join, and then we will kick things off at about 12:02 or 12:03 East Coast time. So thanks again for joining. We will get fired up pretty soon.
I can feel the excitement building, Ed.
Oh yeah, everyone's psyched to talk employee benefits here today.
They want to talk to us especially. So
Perfect timing here before open enrollment season.
Right.
All right, well, it's 12:02 East Coast time. I think we can kick things off, Tim. What do you say?
I think we're ready, man.
All right, sounds great. Well, thank you everyone again for joining today's masterclass. Today's topic is Employee Benefits 360, how to create a complete employee benefits strategy. My name is Eddie Larned. I am Senior Vice President of Sales with Clarity Benefit Solutions. We are a pre-tax employee benefit administrator, handling products like HRA, HSA, FSA, commuter benefits, lifestyle accounts, ERISA and POP, and COBRA administration. And I am joined here today by our great partner, Tim Hupka at PES Benefits. Tim, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Eddie. Good start, right? My name is Tim Hupka. I'm the Vice President of Business Development with PES Benefits. So we're an employee benefits experience company. So we partner with employers, we partner with brokers, and at the end of the day, our goal is to improve the experience of that end user or frontline employee during open enrollment and throughout the year. So additional goal for us is to reduce that amount of work that the HR benefit teams have and the broker teams have. So really at PES, right, as we kind of look into fourth quarter, which we mentioned earlier, is fun times, right? We're right around 3,000 clients nationwide, and we handle everything from benefits education, enrollment. We resell Ben admin platforms, right? So Plan Source, Employee Navigator, bSwift, and we also have, I'd say, a multitude of virtual care solutions from mental health to virtual primary care to urgent care and EAP. So I'll kick it back to you, Ed.
Sounds great. So today we're going to again be talking about employee benefits 360, how to complete a complete employee benefits strategy. Our goal today is to give you the tools and resources that you need to create a winning employee benefits strategy. And as Tim mentioned, we are just in time for open enrollment. So with that being said, Tim, would you like to run through our agenda on kind of what we're going to cover today and how we're going to structure our discussion?
Yep. Yeah. So we're really going to run through about 5 really, say exclusive topics, and then talking about additional benefits and conclusions. So we'll start with our benefits of complete, having the benefits of complete strategy. Section 2, key elements to consider, comp versus benefits, and then get into the top 5 emerging trends, and then touching on managing how to manage benefits effectively, and then we'll go through additional resources in conclusion. So. All right, I'll kick it off, right? Section 1, right, as we go through it, we'll talk through some of the benefits of having a complete strategy. So we'll dive right into it, really from the key benefits of having that comprehensive strategy and why they're essential for your organization. So first, if you look at it, really it's to support the corporate culture and morale. So really investing in benefits is more than just providing health insurance or retirement plans, as you guys know, right? It's about cultivating culture It's looking at things that value the health and well-being of your employees and your clients' employees, right? So when employees feel their company cares about personal well-being, it really boosts engagement, it helps reduce absenteeism, and ultimately enhances productivity. So the strong benefit strategy sends that clear message that your organization prioritizes its people, really at the end of the day, which is that cornerstone of a thriving corporate culture. So next, really want to talk about how to enhance recruiting efforts, right? So if you look at today's competitive market, benefits really play a crucial role in attracting the talent. So we grabbed a study from United Healthcare, and it's showing that 49% of employees may consider leaving their current jobs within a year due to confusion or dissatisfaction with their benefits, right? Which clearly, like 1 in 5 employees is pretty nuts. So again, I think this highlights the importance of offering a clear, valuable, competitive benefit package, and again, really looking at the organization that those employees could move to from a benefit standpoint. So, and then really looking at it to improve employee retention. So employee retention are significant challenges for everybody. I think we're all having those challenges of retaining good employees. So looking at benefits playing a critical factor in it. So research is really showing that 43% of employees consider their benefits package as key. So almost, again, 50%. So if you have a good benefits package, employees are going to stick around. Companies that take care of employees, again, from a benefit standpoint, are going to see higher retention rates. And again, I think looking at it, if you can offer benefit strategies that meets the needs of your workforce, you can foster more loyalty, you can reduce turnover, and again, obviously keep that talent in there. So, Eddie, what do you think from your standpoint? Why is it important? What do you see for employers to have these complete strategies?
Yeah, I mean, I think what hits on all three of these is generally is cost, right? And profitability and growth, all of those important things that business owners and CEOs and VPs, decision makers are thinking about and are worried about, So, turnover is expensive, right? Turnover is costly. So you want to keep turnover at a minimum. And I also think the dynamic of how people change jobs, how often they change jobs has changed over the last couple decades, right? Remember 30, 40 years ago, people would stay at the same job for 20 or 30 or even 40 years. Nowadays, especially with things like the Great Resignation, but also just some of these younger, generations, folks are hop jobs. It's one of the ways they see they can elevate and make more money. So it can be strategic, and that's costly, and that's a challenge for employers and for HR departments. And then as far as the recruitment efforts, I mean, everyone wants the best employees, right? You don't want the second best or the third best. You want to have better talent than your competitors so that you can grow your business and be profitable and have good margins. And then, of course, culture and morale is huge, right? No one wants to run a business where everyone's miserable. And of course, people perform better when they're happy and when they feel valued and when they get along with their coworkers. So to me, if a comprehensive benefit strategy can hit on all three of these points, which the data here kind of, as you mentioned, proves that it does, it all comes down to running an efficient and profitable business, which is what we're all in business to do. So that's kind of my thoughts on this.
Yeah, no, I think those are fantastic. I think in general too, we're seeing those healthcare costs rising, and we'll touch on that. And I think a lot of these strategies, can drive costs down, which again is, I think they're predicting 6 to 8% rise in healthcare costs are coming up. So again, a lot of good information we've got here later to continue. Right, I think we'll touch on right from how do you start off on the right foot. And so I think as you try to create this, it's looking at 3 items. Right, one is listening to your workforce. So really diving in, each group of employees is different. You got different demographics, but you got to understand their needs, their preferences, to build in that benefit plan. Second, really is look to conduct that benefits need assessment. And this is going to get you some data. It's going to get some insight into what the employees within your organization really value and care about, right? Versus you just kind of guessing. And then really look at surveys and lunch and learns. Just some good tips to offer to build and provide feedback and foster that open communication. Because again, at the end of the day, you want to listen to your employees and you want to make sure your strategy is aligned with those employee expectations. So this next slide, I think, is interesting, right? That only there we go. Only 25% of employees strongly agree opinions matter. Their opinions matter at work. Right? So, clearly a huge disconnect between employers and employees, if that is the statistic. So again, if you could change it, right? So it's really incorporating that benefit strategy with their input. Really you can bridge that gap and try to bring that number into a better spot. So again, driving engagement, tailoring benefits, it can help transform your organization, your clients' organizations, helping to lead to higher engagement, better morale, greater retention from that standpoint. So Ed, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds obvious, but I don't think all employers do this. And it's something you mentioned on the prior slide, Tim, conduct a benefit needs assessment or use surveys or polls or lunch and learns to gain insight from your employees. If you don't know what is important to your employees and what they value, then like what good is it offering certain benefits, right? They're called benefits for a reason. They're supposed to be beneficial to the employee, something they can actually utilize more than maybe just once a year. So I think it's important to, again, sounds obvious, but to poll your employees, to survey your employees, to find out what is important to them. So maybe you can reallocate your benefits budget towards something that's more important. Maybe everyone, it values pet insurance, or maybe you just happen to have a company where very few people have pets. Like you need to understand if you're actually making good use of the benefits that you're offering. And then I think it's also important to offer feedback, right? Debrief with employees after you collect that data. Employers don't have an unlimited budget. They can't offer every single type of benefit, and they can't cover it at 100%. But I think with this slide and this statistic, employees want to feel heard, at least acknowledge, okay, we understand you want a better, medical plan. Here's what we can do, here's what we can't do, and here's why. I think employees will at least feel that their opinions do matter and they've been heard if you can at least debrief and recap and then explain the rationale behind certain decisions towards, their benefits offering.
Yep. No, those are fantastic. And the whole herd, right? Because you have all these statistics. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I'm going to actually throw a bunch out, but you essentially have to, like, the industry might point the data a certain way, but you still have to individualize that to your organization and to your clients' organizations. So, but again, some of the numbers you're seeing, right, is that when employees want investment in preventative measures, right, it's crucial to like improving outcomes, reducing those healthcare costs we touched on earlier. We're seeing cancer diagnosis, the numbers are in the industry, like they're increasing for those under 50. So being proactive with some type of wellness check, coaching, preventative care, right? 57% of employees are now saying that it's important to work for a company that values emotional and psychological well-being. And then 52% saying it's important to offer some type of mental health support, right? So I think offering those, and having those, knowing what they are, education, access, all of that. But at the end of the day, right, you have to listen to what your workforce wants and really poll them. So, all right. Speaking of polls, great transition.
Nice
there. I'm bragging on myself, sadly. Our first one of the day, right? We don't have a right answer on this one. We're going to try to get everybody to make a comment or vote. There are no wrong answers, right? So which benefit do you personally believe most strongly supports employee retention? So, and I'm sure, again, I think when I thought about this morning, I'm like, okay, to me, it's going to matter by age, right? So I'm sure you have some comments. We'll kind of keep it open for 30 seconds and see where it's going.
I was going to say the same thing, Tim. So first off, I could see an argument for all of these. My thought is personally, for employees with families or older employees, it's probably going to be health insurance would be my guess, also mixed in with retirement plans. I think employee direct benefits everyone, like pre-tax spending accounts and things like that can be a value to everyone. But to your point, I mean, for maybe a 25-year-old who's pretty healthy, is either on their parents' health insurance plan or maybe is even on their own plan, but again, is not using it. Probably work-life balance programs I could see an argument made for, especially with kind of how there's been a little bit of a paradigm shift since 2020 with work-life balance becoming more of a priority from, remember the grind was a big thing previously. So again, to your point, Tim, there is no right or wrong answer on this one. We didn't conduct a study on this or anything. This is generally just to get your feedback, which I'm always curious to see how folks respond. So I think we've given everyone a little bit of time. Let's check out some of these results that are coming in. Wow, Yes.
Yeah, 62%. We got everybody, most people voting, so that's kudos. And then yeah, a lot of health. 63% think health insurance, and 25, 26 work life. It's great.
Yep.
The people have spoken. So
Not surprising. I think that's that kind of makes sense. So good stuff. Thanks for your participation, folks, in answering the question there. All right, so I'll go ahead and take section 2 here, which is elements to consider when creating a benefits package. So when developing a comprehensive employee benefits strategy, there are several critical factors to consider that you can see here on the screen. So we're going to go through each one of these items and kind of break them down. And as we march along, Tim, I'll ask you for some of your feedback. But let's go ahead and start with employee needs. So I think when considering employee needs, it's definitely important to tailor the benefits to meet the diverse preferences and life stages of your workforce, which actually perfect segue from what we just discussed on that poll a minute ago. Obviously, employees at different points in their career are going to value different benefits, right? So offering a large variety of options can meet the varied needs. There's no longer any like one size fits all offering, I think. So like we talked about, regularly gathering feedback from employees is crucial to ensure that benefits remain relevant and continue to satisfy the workforce as their needs evolve. In fact, 49% of employees would bear more of the cost to have access to more benefits that suit their needs. So clearly that kind of shows just how important it is to align your benefits package with what employees really want. And that study actually came from MetLife. Moving on, we have unions. A lot of folks are familiar with unions. So when working with unionized employees, obviously it's going to be essential to collaborate closely with the union representatives. You have to make sure that the benefits are going to align with collective bargaining agreements. It's pretty black and white, what has been agreed to and therefore what needs to be adhered to. So this is really important. And in fact, 94% of union workers had access to benefits in March of 23, while only 68% of non-union workers had access to retirement benefits. So pretty big gap there. Additionally, employers spent an average of $21, a little over $21 actually per hour on benefits for union workers compared to just about $11 for non-union workers. So again, underscores the importance of addressing those specific concerns and requirements that are going to be unique to the unionized employees and ensure that they receive, the comprehensive benefits package that they've negotiated and that they've earned. Legal requirements, I'll read through this and then kick over to you, Tim, just for a few comments. But when it comes to employee benefits, obviously staying compliant with federal, state, and local laws is going to be really, really important. This involves not only adhering to established laws that we're all familiar with, like ERISA, ACA, HIPAA, but also being proactive about some of the new and evolving regulations, which seems to be always happening. So for example, ERISA now mandates specific fiduciary responsibilities and reporting standards that can carry huge penalties if not met. And we've already seen some lawsuits on this in the last year or two. So regular updates are going to be essential to ensure that your benefits package continues to meet the legal requirements. So this includes understanding and applying new rules, such as this no gag clause rule from ERISA, which prohibits restrictions on sharing cost and quality information with the plan participants. And obviously non-compliance across any of these items leads to fines, legal disputes, can hurt the reputation of an employer. So really important to stay on top of these requirements. That being said, Tim, any comments on your side as far as the legal requirements?
yeah, I'd say from a ben admin standpoint, right, as you evaluate that complete benefit package and considerations, right, is if you pick a partner correctly, right, they can tie in ACA. You've got Cobra, right, which you can integrate into the platform with those partners. So I think having that, tucked in is key and built out. And then there are those minor things, like court order benefits, which I think it's some weird acronym, QMSCO. So having those and having the right partner position to implement those is also ideal.
Yep. So now let's touch on compliance, which I think very closely aligns with legal requirements. So while legal requirements are basically like the framework, right? Compliance is about the day-to-day implementation of these rules. So it involves establishing procedures that meet these regulatory standards. Again, we mentioned ERISA, ACA, HIPAA, you can throw Cobra into this. And this includes everything from maintaining accurate records to ensuring that your employee's benefits program is administered in line with the latest regs. I think regular audits can be crucial to this process. These audits will help identify gaps in your compliance efforts, ensure that all aspects of your benefit administration is up to standard. So again, huge penalties can result from non-compliance. So the ongoing monitoring, the correction, if there are errors, will help, safeguard and prevent, your company from being exposed to these potential risks. Tim, comments here on compliance?
Yeah, and you mentioned ACA, so again, you go back to the Ben admin systems out there. So a lot of capabilities there and tracking. There's eligibility rules people forget about, waiting periods that you can kind of tuck in there. Beneficiaries, I think, is a compliance piece that a lot of times we get asked to gather is, hey, can you gather beneficiaries during the enrollment process on the platforms, which that capability is available. And then I think the other piece is that dependent verification. There's a lot of AI tools, a lot of platforms offer these, right? So utilizing those and then throwing the audits in there, because the statistics point to it's roughly 4 to 6% of employees have dependents that are ineligible, which costs an average of around $2,000 per dependent per year. So tying that together, talking to the clients and employees about it, employers, excuse me, is key. And then the other piece we never touch on, it's like so simple you don't think about it, is that EDI file feed. Right, is if you don't have a file feed set up with carriers, right, through your Ben admin platform, or if you're using a payroll platform, right, there's a huge compliance issue there, because if you don't have it, then you're essentially manually keying in data onto carrier website, which is going to create a lot of human errors.
That's a great point on the integration, and I know we'll touch on that a little bit more later. But yeah, I mean, as technology's gotten better, integration is more and more essential. I remember, if you rewind 7, 8, 10 years ago, and like only large companies, had the integration between platforms and carriers, and now it's like you could have a company with 25 employees and they need to have the integration established. So it's become huge. So moving on to cost. Obviously, cost is a huge part of everything that we do, but it's all about balance, right? Balancing a strong, comprehensive benefits package with the financial capability, the financial sustainability of your benefits package is more challenging than ever. Why? Well, to your point earlier, Tim, healthcare costs are expected to increase by 6%. Just this year, mostly driven by inflation. But there's an increasing demand for high cost prescription drugs. There's more consolidation in the healthcare system. So this marks a huge increase over what we were previously seeing, which I think was like 3-4% annual rise, which was typical for most of the past decade, which still is tough to keep up with on a compounding basis. But then you get hit with almost double that at 6%. It presents a challenge for employers. So I think to manage the rising costs effectively, it's essential to look at various options, right? So funding options, for example, self-funded plans can offer up to like 8 to 10% annually, which eliminates, carrier profit margins, state premium taxes. But of course, that inherently comes with risks that need to be managed carefully. So you can look at stop loss insurance and other protective measures. And then you have a lot of employers looking at new and kind of unique concepts like population health management, centers of excellence, things like that to better manage high cost claims and improve health outcomes. And that's kind of like what you touched on earlier with like being more proactive about employees' health and avoiding maybe some of these large dollar amount claims down the road. So these measures will not only help in controlling costs, but also ensure that employees are receiving care that they need without, compromising the quality of your benefits package. So I'll kick it over to you for any comments on that, on cost.
Yeah, I think if you look at like the whole funding strategy, right, is always evaluating what the options are, having a plan in place, but looking at if you're self-funded, level funded, fully insured, I think even looking at that is key. But offering say other benefits outside of health plans that are valuable to the employees and really essentially can redirect costs, and then educating on this, right? There's a big piece of it is just because you put in a new strategy if you're going self-insured, but they're sometimes complicated. So ensuring employees are educated on that, the HR teams are educated on it. So again, a lot of the costs, what we see is they're driven by accessibility or inaccessibility. So employees need benefits at their fingertips, right? So it's ensuring they don't go somewhere on the weekend. If you need them on the weekends, you don't need them. You don't need them now, right? So they need to have them at their fingertips, and making sure they're educated. They don't go to an urgent care or emergency room when they could just make a quick phone call for telemedicine, right? So I think that's a big piece of it. Again, the other side of the cost, right, is just understanding, ben admin systems in general, right? If you're trying to find a good partner, is looking at the cost to the bottom line to the company, right? So whether it's the build costs, the maintenance, carrier file fees, all that, there's an inherent rising cost in that just because of labor. So as they evaluate that, I think it's making sure that brokers, HR teams are understanding there are a ton of carrier credits available from almost every carrier, from a technology wellness credit. Also, to utilize those voluntary benefit commissions can help reduce that. So again, that's kind of the key kind of holistic approach that I think of when I think of cost. So.
It's a great point. Those ancillary carriers, actually a lot of carriers have that budget set aside to help cover some of the costs of technology. So got to ask in order to get it. Good point. All right. Last one we have for this section is competitive job market. So we touched on the importance of this earlier. Quick statistic for you here. Over 60% of employees consider benefits and perks a significant factor when deciding to accept a job offer. So obviously that makes it essential to offer competitive packages that stand out in your industry. 80% of employees prioritize additional benefits over a pay increase. That is a big one to me. Everyone thinks it's all about the base salary, the bonuses, whatever, equity options. But really, 80% of employees prioritize having additional benefits over pay increase. So got to have that well-rounded strategy. On that same note, I think it's critical to benchmark your benefits offering against the industry standards, again, in order to attract that top tier of talent and then retain the top tier of talent or retain all your employees. So I know it's common to work with, say, a payroll provider and benchmark maybe like your base salaries or your compensation package against, your industry. But how often are folks actually taking that to the next level and doing it with their benefits? So I think that can be a good strategy. Obviously, there have been challenges in the labor market, particularly with the influx of Gen Z workers who kind of value flexibility, developmental opportunities. The benefits package needs to be considerate of that. And then one more statistic for you, 46% of employers plan to enhance their benefits offering in 2024. So again, employers for the most part are listening, recognizing that important competitive benefits are going to be key in order to maintain a strong workforce. So with that, Tim, I'll leave it open if you have any comments, and then I think we can run into our second poll.
Yeah. Before the poll, I think that whole, it's good to see that employers are planning to enhance them, but again, it's always not about adding more. Sometimes it's maybe you've thrown too much at them, right? So I think it's evaluating that, not just shopping around, but again, looking what benefits are changing, what makes the most sense to the population. And I think you also have to consider the part-time population too, with the reduction of workforce and how the challenges line up there. That part-time employee workforce is key, and I think there's a big movement on that side. So the other piece I always think too on a competitive job market, it's always like employees, you get all these benefits, but then you forget you have them. So having that good communication strategy so they know how to get to their benefits, or they know how to access them, I think is the big piece again, because sometimes people don't realize what they have until they leave. So.
Totally agree. I see that all the time, especially with things like people forget they have, legal support or an EAP program or identity theft. And it's like, these are all awesome benefits, but you got to actually take advantage of them, So yeah, all about communication and accessibility. All right, let's check out our next poll question. So this one is, which of these factors, so 5 of the 6 we just covered, do you weigh the most when you're creating a benefits package? So similar to the first poll question, this one does not have any right or wrong answer. We just genuinely want your feedback. So, curious, Tim, your initial thoughts here are what might stand out to you out of some of the things we just covered.
To me, that's probably the competitive job market now, to me, stands out more. But I think, what I've heard recently too is like renewals are a little crazy. So I think it's finding the balance, right? And going back from that standpoint, because costs are so much higher. So.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Definitely have to balance, I think, all of these factors here. Obviously, you don't want to be offering a benefits package that doesn't adhere to legal requirements and is not compliant. Like that would be a problem. But I think if you can check those two boxes, then it comes down to listening to your employees, right? The employee needs,
Mhm.
and I think if you listen to your employees and their needs, then inherently you're going to be competitive in the job market. Looks like some of the responses are back in. We got well over 50% of you have already responded. So thanks for your participation there. And it looks like kind of a almost two-way tie between employee needs and costs. So yeah, hard to run a business if you're not factoring cost as a major factor here. So
Right.
great responses there.
Yep. No, agreed. All right, we'll slide on here. Go into how to really support the heart of your organization, looking at compensation versus benefits. So, at the end of the day, right, employees to me are truly the driving force between everybody's organization. So daily contributions are going to shape culture. They're going to fuel innovation and directly impact the customer satisfaction, right, which I think is to me falling down, but again, trying to drive that forward and then driving operational achievements. So when employees are healthy, when they're satisfied, the entire organization is going to benefit. One statistic to throw out there, right, the burnt out employees are 68% less productive than their healthy colleagues. So this again highlights that direct impact employee well-being has on productivity. Again, with higher levels of employee well-being, those organizations see lower turnover, less absenteeism, and it's going to be a more positive and stable workplace atmosphere. So at the end of the day, right, if the employees are doing well, the organization thrives. And so supporting their well-being at the end of the day is not just a nice to have, it's essential. So when you do support employees, right, it's not just the nice thing to do or the right thing to do. It's that, to me, it's got to be a top strategic priority for your clients, for you guys as an organization, looking for that long-term success. So investing in human capital, right? So again, it's not just ethical, it's smart. So investing in the workforce fosters loyalty, fosters dedication, and critical for that long-term success. Studies also have shown that companies with high levels of engagement from the employee standpoint, they're going to outperform their peers by crazy number, 147% in earnings per share, right? So from a publicly traded standpoint. So again, this investment is going to lead to a more committed workforce, which is really at the end of the day essential for maintaining a competitive edge in today's market. So active engagement, right? So actively supporting employees through responsive HR policies, open communication, which we touched on, right? And genuine care, it's going to enhance engagement, satisfaction, right? Employees who feel supported are 55% more likely to stay with their company, right? So that ties right into that retention piece. This level of engagement also improves productivity, reduces the turnover, going to save your clients, you guys, substantial costs with hiring and training, right? So at the end of the day, investing in the employees, actively engaging with them, you're not going to build a stronger team. You're actually going to help the company long term. So as we continue to support the heart of all the organizations, right, which is employees, it's crucial to recognize that today's workforce looks for more than just competitive salary, right? And I think we can flip to the next slide. It's a tick behind. All right, thank you. While competitive salaries are going to remain important, right? I think that's big in the workforce now, but we're also seeing that flip back, right? It's not just enough to have a high salary to attract and retain talent. So employees are looking for well-rounded benefits. So again, that includes a lot of things, right? Health benefits, retirement plans, lifestyle perks. Studies are right now showing 80% of employees prioritize additional benefits over that pay increase, right? So that's a pretty big number. And then looking at holistically, right? Keeping the circle going, right? As a balanced benefit package should look at it holistically, incorporating the mix of benefits to really address physical, mental, and I think a big piece now too we're seeing lately is that financial wellness, right? I mean, companies or employees are expecting companies to kind of help support them there. So if you take that approach, I think it's going to ensure that all employees feel valued, supported. That's going to be crucial for fostering that committed and long-term productive team. So, and again, research is also showing that companies with that comprehensive wellness plan and programs, they experience a 30% reduction in absenteeism. So people are coming back to work, they're showing up for work, and then they're also seeing a 26% reduction in healthcare costs. Right? So again, trying to drive that 6 to 8% upcoming number down. So looking at, again, in summary, looking at holistically, it's going to support the employees. It's going to help strengthen the organization on a, I would say, a variety of levels, from engagement to turnover to improving overall performance. So, and then compensation, right, on the next slide, right, Ed, we talked on earlier, there's a lot of factors that go into this. It's crucial. So it's just beyond that hourly wage or salary. So you can see, there's a ton of things in here, but to me, it's looking at that comprehensively, again, helping attract top talent, but what motivates, what retains your workforce, recognition, right? Rewards are a big piece of it. So having that well structured can impact that satisfaction, loyalty. So I'll kind of pause there. Ed, what are your thoughts when you think about compensation, when you think about having that balanced benefit plan?
Yeah, I mean, I think traditionally, right, it was always base salary and maybe bonus was kind of what folks factored in. But as you can see here on the screen, there's so many more options that go to that. I've noticed more with profit sharing and stock options, and I think that's awesome. I mean, not every company does that or can do that, but those that do, I think it helps employees have some skin in the game, stay highly motivated. They feel like they're part of the company, they're building the company on just like a different level. So seen a lot of those, like with ESOP programs and other things like that. Even things like Cobra, I mean, it's not something we talk about often, but I mean, I have a friend who left a larger company. She went to a startup, and luckily they were able to, give her some kind of subsidy on her Cobra. But, you have prescriptions that can be hundreds or thousands of dollars a month. You have an unexpected procedure or something happens, like you got to have that coverage. So I think that can go a long way as well. So I think all of these items factor into it, but I know I get excited when I hear stock options and profit sharing. I think if an employer is able to structure their organization to make that a possibility, that can be a huge advantage and good for company morale, I think, too.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of times employees too, it's like, I know with Ben admin platforms, they have the ability to do total compensation statements. So it's a great way to remind employees, hey, you not just have your check you're looking at every week, but you have all these other benefits that the company is providing for you. So again, that's to me part of that holistic approach, right? Tying in proactive programs from mental health to wellness checks to urgent care, and then again, tying the whole picture, right, is looking at it from an education, from a accessibility standpoint, right? When they need their benefits, the weekends and the evenings. So. All right, we'll go to our next poll question, right? So this one actually has an answer. So if you don't get it right, we're not tracking anybody. We won't remove you from the list, unfortunately. The question, what percentage of employees consider benefits more important than salary? So it's A, 20, B, 40, C, 60, and D, 80. We'll see where this one comes. We actually gave everybody this answer earlier if they were paying attention. They probably were, since you and I are both so engaging, Ed. So
yes, riveting. Yep. So yeah, we'll give everyone a few seconds to go ahead and answer. But yeah, this was somewhat surprising.
Yep. This one looking like we're getting most of it coming through.
Yeah, it looks like we have 50% of you have responded, so I think we can go ahead and tell you the answer. Looks like 24% of you got it right. It is C, 60%. So that's a pretty big number. And again, goes back to kind of the change in mindset of it's not just all about salary, right? Benefits are a huge component to it.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. So I think if you look at just in general, like employee benefits, there's so many perks available. So love the picture of the dog, right? We have one, right? The huge increase in pet insurance and demand. I think that entire market is untapped in general, but I think everyone's seeing that, we left our son left a muffin out, next thing had chocolate in it, and we got to take the dog to the ER, and luckily we had some type of pet insurance. Otherwise it would have been like $5,000, right? So I think, again, employees aren't just looking for that paycheck, they're looking for everything. And that's what we looked at on our side. So you guys, we see everything from retirement to pet insurance to flexibility in the workplace, gym memberships, wellness checks, prescription benefits, right? You mentioned that earlier, Ed, just on the Cobra piece, but having that at your fingertips. There's travel, commuter benefits out there as well. There's a lot more employers coming, demanding employees go back to work. So I think having that's key. There's childcare and fertility assistance. I think fertility is big right now, especially on the political agenda, right? So again, I think from that standpoint, you've got to offer this. You've got to look at it from an employer standpoint, again, not just to meet the expectations, but again, ties into that loyalty and job satisfaction. So, Ed, any comments on this one?
Yeah, I have two. I think one, the employee directed benefits is a big one. That's when I say that, I mean like the pre-tax spending accounts, so HSAs, FSAs, childcare you mentioned with dependent care accounts, or the commute. I mean, today with how inflation's been the last couple of years, I think folks are struggling just on the week to week because everything seems so expensive. And, salaries are only going to increase, incrementally every year on average. So every dollar counts, right? So if I can keep more money in my own pocket and give less to the government, I am absolutely going to figure out every possible way I can do that between something like a 401k, an HSA, the child care, the commute, things like that. So that's one that, I'll call out. The other is touches on a couple of these, but lifestyle accounts. I think lifestyle account is a very broad term that can mean a lot of different things, but touches on things like gym memberships and wellness programs and the child care and the fertility assistance. I mean, employers can really craft their own lifestyle account to whatever the employee finds, important to them. And I've seen some pretty creative ones taking it beyond just gym memberships, but you can go buy weights or running shoes at like Dick's Sporting Goods or at Nike, or pay for a Peloton membership, or get a fishing license, or pay for a golf club membership, like literally anything to get folks to get out and be physically healthy, So I thought that was kind of a cool idea. But again, I think that those are a couple that I'll call out.
Yeah, no, those are fantastic. I'm writing golf club membership down as one of my top items to ask PS about here coming up, if we get some enhancements on that side. So
yeah, I'm thinking that's a good idea.
All right, we'll slide to the next poll question. What percentage of people say benefits are the most important factor in deciding to take a job? So we've got 33, 51, 67, or 88. And again, this one we actually have the right answer coming up. So hopefully we'll see people actually vote. I think they were a little slower on the last one, but we got some good participation. But looks like we might need to stir the hornet's nest here on the other side. A lot of votes. There we go. We get some people voting now, rolling in.
There we go.
Just my Wi-Fi. So
there you go. Now they're coming in.
There you go. But yeah, this is. I mean, I got to think this one in general has got to be pretty sizable number. Not sure where. Looks like the poll is landing right around. They're landing on B at 51.
Yeah.
So, which A would be incorrect, actually. So correct answer is 88. Pretty high number. Crazy. I never thought about this. This is job seekers though. So again, it's not just those of us on the phone. And we're not. Hopefully, no one's looking for jobs right now. But if they are, right, obviously 88% is tucked in here looking at the benefit side. So.
Yep. All right, let's dive into section 4 here. Top 5 emerging trends in employee benefits for 2025. I'm sure this is a topic that interests everyone to know what's going on. So as the workforce really continues to evolve, obviously the trends in employee benefits are going to evolve as well. So as the demand in flexible work arrangements and generous PTO, sometimes unlimited PTO policies, is expected to continue to increase. That's really being driven by the changing employee expectations and the ongoing effects of the pandemic, which seems crazy to say since it was, 4 years ago, but still seeing, the repercussions there. But beyond these factors, I think there are a lot of unique trends that all HR professionals and, us folks in the benefits industry need to pay close attention to as we move forward. So let's run through a couple of these. To start with is the personalized benefits packages. So we talked about this a little bit already. There is no one size fits all anymore. That era is over. So the employees now expect benefits to align with their personal circumstances, like their life stages. That allows them to tailor the benefits, again, to meet their unique needs. So for example, younger employees are increasingly in demand for high deductible health plans more than ever before. This trend is reflecting a broader shift in employee expectations, with nearly a third of employers in 2023 identifying the need to meet the diverse needs of a multi-generational workforce as a primary challenge. I think that's a big one. You know, this is the first time in history where we have 5 generations in the workforce. So to what the personalized benefits packages speaks to, you know, a person who's 23 years old, healthy, right out of college, doesn't have a family, might prioritize something totally differently than a boomer who's finishing up their career and getting ready for retirement. So again, by offering this personalized benefits package, you not only build the employee satisfaction, but you're also positioning your organization as a magnet for top talent in every generation that are looking for all-inclusive offerings. So again, it's customized retirement plans, flexible spending accounts, lifestyle spending accounts. Health savings accounts are more popular than ever, especially with some of these modern investment capabilities. And again, this just allows employees to allocate funds towards what matters most to them. I remember a couple years ago, defined contribution was a concept that was really, really popular. And the concept is sound. You know, it's like, here's X amount of money, choose what's important to you, allocate the funds as you see fit. So I think that's a nice option as well. Tim, any comments on this?
Yeah, no, I think you touched on a lot. The whole 5 generation thing always sticks to me, right? As we talked about this, but having, again, you look at a Ben admin system, you look at communication, and you got to customize it to that demographic. If you do have an organization that has all of those 5 generations, they're all going to communicate differently. They're going to absorb benefits differently. They're going to have different skill sets, right, when it comes to that. So making sure, again, you've got a platform or a partner that gets that, right, that can see the benefit offerings by class based on what they're asking for. And then same thing, communication's different, you know, mobile versus a boomer, right? Like maybe they're not savvy on a cell phone, so they've got to be able to access them differently. So I think that's a big key piece as you personalize it.
Yep. So trend number 2, you actually touched on this earlier, Tim, better mental health resources. So this statistic is pretty wild to me here in green. Did you know that 82% of the workforce feels at risk of burnout? You know, I previously thought that burnout was kind of just like a slang term, right? Just something we throw around. It is not. It is, and it's not just a temporary state of mind. I mean, it's a serious issue that has lasting impacts on the employees and therefore the organization. So it's been linked to a range of health risks, cardiovascular disease, chronic fatigue, even premature death. Not to get too morbid here, but burnout is no joke. It's very costly for businesses, contributes, as you can imagine, to much lower productivity, higher turnover, and increased absenteeism. You know, if someone's feeling burnt out, they're not coming to work and your business is going to suffer. So what are some ideas that we can do about this? I think it's crucial to ensure that your benefits package includes comprehensive mental health resources. Just to name a few, you have EAP programs that offers, you know, a ton of support for personal and work-related issues, including stress, anxiety, and burnout, as we mentioned. You have counseling and mental health services, provides access to professional counseling services that can help employees navigate some of these challenges before it escalates into a more severe, you know, mental health situation. And of course, you can use your HSA or FSA money to utilize for these types of expenses for deductibles, co-pays, things like that. So that can be advantageous as well, doing it on a pre-tax basis. Tim, I know you guys at PES do quite a bit with mental health. I feel like you're kind of at the forefront of that movement, which is pretty impressive. Do you care to comment on this slide?
Yeah, I think again that 82% number sticks out, and the demand on mental health in general, I think it's over 600% demand post-COVID, right? So, you know, I think ensuring there's accessibility to it, especially for not only the in the moment, right, which you can get with an EAP, for some long-term counseling, right, which again we have out there, and there's a lot of good resources on that side. When you do look at mental health too, I still think there's that stigma attached to it. So making sure, you know, that you have it virtually and it's easy to access, right? Because nobody wants to pick up the phone and call their HR person and say, what's the phone number to call for some mental health help? So I think that's a big piece. What we hear on the flip, right, is from the HR teams is they have it, but they're not using it, right? So understanding what their utilization is, Making sure they get reporting on that from a key partner, I think, is a big piece of it. So they have to ask about visibility in it. But again, to your point, the 82% of burnouts, right? So, and again, a lot of that relates to not only to the employee, but their family, right? So having those resources that are available to dependents, right, to kids. There's a lot of issues between with, again, post-COVID, we talk about it, right? But school, sports, people that are parents, right, have other challenges. Just have that outlet. And then with the EAPs, right, I'm thinking legal support, financial, all those elder care resources and daycare. Again, a lot of companies going back to work in offices, and they want to see people back on site. So that's creating a full amount of other challenges. So, but yeah, I'll kick it back to you, Ed.
Yeah, absolutely. So trend number 3, cost savings. We touched on this a little bit earlier. I apply this slide or this topic not just to the employer, but to the employee as well, right? We talked about inflation, some of the other challenges that folks are dealing with, outside of work and just making ends meet. 45% of employees reported that they would struggle to afford an unexpected medical bill of just $500, right? That is a massive problem. So again, any way that we can, be mindful of that and try to help employees, give them the best benefits offering that actually is applicable to them, using those needs assessments, those surveys, because employers have a defined budget, right? We don't have unlimited money to throw around to cover every possible benefit. Let's take an analysis of that each year and make sure that the benefits that we're putting in place are actually those that are most utilized and most appreciated by the employees. So Tim, any comment on that?
Yeah, a couple things quick, right? I think the whole inflation piece in the market, right, is driving a lot of this. So at the end of the day, right, it's that communication, letting the employees know, hey, there's probably a lot of things the employers are covering that they don't realize. And then, from a wellness check to virtual care, right, to just anything from a benefit, commuter benefits, right? So I think making sure that there's that strategy to kind of place that up, prop it up, and then get them to form better habits is going to help drive costs in the right direction.
Yep. All right, I'm seeing we only have about 9 minutes left here, so I'm gonna run through these last couple slides in this section. Trend 4 is back to the basics. So we've been talking about a lot of these kind of new, I'll call them flashier benefits, whether it's pet insurance, lifestyle accounts, some of the other things we talked about. Obviously, it's important not to sleep on the big one, which is the health insurance, right? Health insurance, life insurance, childcare options, things like that. 88% of employees consider healthcare benefits as extremely important or very important. So again, emphasizes the need to focus back on the basics, get a comprehensive health insurance plan, have great childcare options if possible. Don't invest in things like pizza parties or high-tech employee recreation rooms if you're taking away budget from other important things. So I think that's a good reminder to not forget about the basics, and that health insurance, again, is kind of, in my mind, one of the foundation pieces of the benefits offering. And then our last trend, trend 5, is education and technology. So 85% of employees are confused about their benefits coverage in one way or the other. It's not really a benefit if you're offering something to an employee and they don't understand it, they're not utilizing it, they're therefore not appreciating it. That becomes a problem. So I think employers can make an impact, and brokers and consultants, agents, making it easy for employees to access their benefits, use the platforms, find the educational resources easily. Remember, we talk about our benefits during open enrollment, but someone might be healthy for the next 8 months, and then it comes time to use their medical plan or use their dental plan or use their legal plan, and they totally forget how to access it. So I think that's an area where technology and intuitive Ben admin platforms can be very advantageous. Tim, I know that speaks to your world, if you have any comments.
Yeah, no, I didn't think the number was quite this high. It's pretty nuts, 85%. I think everybody that's in the space still gets confused, even if they know it, right? So again, understanding it, using it, accessing it really is the key piece.
Yep. All right, in the interest of time, I'm thinking we skip this next poll question and just get to our last section here. Section 5, how to manage it all. The importance of organized benefits administration. Tim, you want to talk through this section?
Yeah, I'll run through it, right? So I think as you look at, that holistic, the plan itself and how to manage it all. So again, you don't want it to be overwhelming, right? So one, obviously develop a holistic one. 2, choose that correct Ben admin platform or partner. And then 3, just enjoy the benefits, right? So if you look at that, so again, 74% of employees say they're more effective at their job when they feel heard, right? So we touched on just listening to employees, right? Balancing all their options with the input, finding that platform to manage it, to really help, from a communication standpoint and help eliminate manual processes. So again, that really to me ties the features of a good Ben admin system and a good Ben admin platform, right? So you've got a system can provide following features, right? You got a health spending card on there, you can track vacation, dedicated customer support for the employees and for the HR admin teams is key, versus an email or a ticket system. So there's automated compliance built in, right? We talked on this earlier, ACA dependent verification, COBRA. Instructional tools I think are big. There's a lot of decision support tools in there to help maximize, right? And looking at that by your population. And then those carrier integrations, I think is a big piece of it, right? That time savings, that manual work done by the HR teams is a huge issue across the industry and across most companies. So anything else you want to touch on? I know we're a little pressed for time and questions here.
Yeah, I'll touch on 2 things quickly. One is I agree with you on the decision support feature there. Benefits are confusing as is. Sometimes folks don't know which plan to choose, and a lot of Americans are overinsured, right? So maybe going for the most expensive plan when that's not actually what they need. So I see a lot of value with decision support, but also these platforms have to be intuitive. And of course, Tim, you and I in our world, we've seen a ton of Ben admin platforms. We know with certainty some are more intuitive and easier to navigate than others. And I think that's an important component here because, like I said, benefits are confusing enough. We got to make it easy for folks to get through open enrollment, but then also to be able to access their platform and their details in the middle of the year as their needs arise. So, sometimes if you don't have any qualifying life events, you may only log into your portal once or twice a year. Has to be easy to use. You need to be able to look at it and remember how to navigate again. Obviously, there's support around that, but I think that's another big component here.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. I think the whole, logging in once, I did kind of slides and transitions into, how employees benefit from a comprehensive plan and a good Ben admin system. So again, it's all their benefits in one spot. It's accessibility, whether it's an app, whether it's a system, and then, challenging your partners or your broker partners to find, Ben admin systems that have single sign-on, right? The SSO, just that whole password fatigue. Right. I mean, I could talk for hours about how annoying it is and it just drives everybody nuts. And that's one of mine. But, just making that better accessible for employees is key. And then obviously the employers, right, is to at the end of the day, help them with a variety of things, less hassle, helps higher employee retention, right? And, then focus on that development. So if you can scrape the time off the HR teams, it's a huge benefit from that piece. So.
All right, so let's wrap up here. We have get more resources in our open enrollment kit. So we've kind of been teasing a few resources as we went through this past hour with you all. And again, thanks so much for joining us. But we've gone ahead and we've developed something to help make the open enrollment process a lot smoother and more effective for you all on this call, for our great partners and our great clients. So we're really excited to officially introduce to you the Open Enrollment Toolkit. This is really an all-in-one guide to implementing a lot of the strategies that we discussed today. So what comes along with this? First off, you get access to a benefit needs assessment. Obviously, we talked about how important it is to understand your employees' needs. So this tool will help you survey your workforce and identify the benefits that they value most. And obviously ensure that the offerings are aligned with their expectations, not just for your own organizations if you're a business owner, but also for our broker and consultant partners. Feel free to distribute and utilize this for your clients. It lists product pairings. So based on the insight you gather, this will help you choose curated plan products that best meet the needs of each of the employees with these personalized recommendations. We have educational resources, which are a library of videos and flyers on topics like HSA, FSA, dependent care, HRA, commuter benefits, you name it. And then, of course, a glossary of key terms like we talked about. Employee benefits can be confusing. I just listed off about 5 acronyms there in 2 seconds. So it'll help to have a glossary of key terms to, provide quick definitions for some of these common benefits terms. We'll be sending you the link to this toolkit right after the presentation, so you can start to utilize these resources right away. And again, we're confident this is going to be an invaluable asset to helping you navigate open enrollment this year with confidence and ease. So I'll pass on to you, Tim, for some closing comments here, and then I guess we'll open it up to any questions that we got during today's masterclass.
Yep. Yeah, we'll open for questions. Again, the only quick comments I have, right, it's education, communication, and being proactive and giving employees accessibility at the end of the day. So we'll kick it over. If you guys want to put questions in the chat, if we don't get to them, because obviously we're wrapping this thing up now, we will follow back up with you directly on your question. So I think most people are.
Yes, we did get a few questions. So I will start. Either one of you can answer. The first one would be, what strategies have you seen implemented to balance rising healthcare costs?
So
I'm sorry, while maintaining comprehensive coverage.
Yeah, Tim, do you want to take this or you want me to?
I'll take it a little bit. We can kind of jointly answer it. I think, when you're implementing the plans, it's looking at the deductibles, looking at HSAs, FSAs, but then having that, what kind of things are you doing for the population that doesn't sign up or that does, to be proactive, right? So, I mean, we really push, I would say, and see having, thorough offerings of that's virtual primary care, telemedicine, something that's available and at the employee fingertips, so that you can redirect claims and redirect costs so they're not hitting the plans. And then that virtual primary care is pretty popular right now. We're seeing, just because you get a wellness check, employees don't typically do that, and that's going to help be a little more proactive and preventative.
Yeah, I'll add to that. You mentioned the HRA or high deductible concept. I mean, I ran an HRA savings calculation yesterday that with this group moving from one plan to another, they could leverage an HRA and keep the employee exposure or out-of-pocket responsibility the same, and the employer will probably save like $300,000. Now, look, that gap in premium does not exist in every market. I know that the gap has closed significantly over the years in some markets, but there are still opportunities out there where companies on a super rich plan, let's look at alternatives, find a lower premium plan, layer over an HRA or an HSA, and still maintain a high level of benefit while saving the employer quite a bit of money. So there's a lot of creative plan design concepts out there, but that's at least a starting point, I think.
Thank you. We still have several people on, so I'm going to ask maybe 2 more questions, and then if we didn't get to your question, we will follow up individually to make sure that we do. So the next question that came through, what features do you find most important in a Ben admin platform to ensure a smooth open enrollment? Tim, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, I think feature-wise, right, is one, is make sure it's customized. The main feature we typically see left off, right, is that they don't display employer paid benefits, right, or other perks. So I think building those out, and then obviously order on the Ben admin system is a big piece of it, right, to make sure they're in the correct order. And then also the payroll checks and payroll deductions. A lot of times some Ben admin systems, they offer this shopping experience and some don't. So as employees go through it, I think looking at it and seeing what's going to hit on that employee's check, it's going to impact. So having that totaled off to the the top corner, that's a big piece of it, from an employee experience. And then mobile accessibility, right? I think that's a big piece of it, is making sure that most platforms are mobile accessible, which some are, some aren't. But again, everyone's signing up on their cell phones, their smartphones now. So I think that's a huge piece as far as how you look at a Ben admin system and a key partner.
Agree. Okay, how about Eddie, do you take this one and then we can wrap it up. So what challenges have you faced, or your company, in offering personalized benefits to meet diverse needs of your workforce?
Oh, that's a good one. Let's see, what challenges have we experienced? I guess it's an understanding of it's working with the employer on, what fitting things into their budget and also prioritizing, right? I think there is sometimes a thought process that more is better, and I think sometimes less is more, as long as what less means is that it's stronger programs. So I think that kind of goes back, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but to the needs analysis and understanding what employees actually value and what they're going to actually utilize. There's no point in offering 30 different types of benefits if they're not going to be really utilized, or if half of those are relatively weak, or they're just not they're not that comprehensive, let's say. So I think a lot of times less is more, and again, understanding your employee population too, right? Because that can vary significantly from company to company. If you're a tech startup in in a city environment, and most of your employees are in their 20s and 30s, like, you kind of have a pretty consistent demographic compared to another organization where you might have, like we talked about, employees in all 5 generations. So I think taking those different factors into account can sometimes is really important in sort of avoiding some of those challenges.
All right, Chris, I think we're good. We're at the 5-minute mark,
Yep.
so I think we'll wrap this thing up. If we miss questions, right, we'll get back to you guys, or those of you that answered them, and kick them over. We've got the link will go out. We can obviously send that out to the group as well if everybody registered, and then we'll go from there. So.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We appreciate it. Appreciate your participation in the polls, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, happy 4th quarter. Here we go.
Here we go.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Take care.